we go. It is Chicken Dinner 015, the 15th time we've talked live with you on a Thursday night. Welcome to it on the most important of days for Notre Dame futures. Sam Panayotovich with you. Follow on Twitter at SPShoot, at chickenxdinner. And yes, if you're wondering, I have the luck of the Irish nearby, and this will get knocked into over the next hour. We're going to talk a lot of college basketball. John Martin, who's awesome, ESPN Radio in Memphis, also does work with the Field of 68 and BetQL. He'll join us in about 15 minutes from now. Johnny and I have been texting religiously since we met over the last month or so, and he knows his college hoop. So John will join us at 6:45, and Corbie Craig will join us just after 7 o'clock. And I can't wait for that little crosstalk between myself and Corbie and John, because these guys know rec, and they know hoop. So we'll discuss all of that. Of course, we'll get into NFL Wildcard Weekend. I was trying to jam bets in on two players to lead the weekend in rushing. We'll show you some of those price gaps. And we'll also have a quick conversation about hedge or no hedge. And that was a big topic today, not only on BetQL Daily with Joe O and myself, but on social media, because a lot of you jumped into the pool with us on Notre Dame. And if I needed to make a bet today, naked on the game, had no futures, had no stock, nothing, I would still probably bet Notre Dame. But I'm not going to re-enter, given the fact that I already have a position 1 unit to win 10. No unit shaming on the show. Let's call it 10 units. There's no perfect hedge, obviously. You're one of 4 teams. Now, Joe made the bet on Notre Dame to make the title game at 4-1. And he's not hedging either, because we like our bets. I think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have pushed people over to lock in a profit. But at this point, it's not a lot of money. It's not life-changing cash. So there's no hedge to be made. And I think the one angle that made sense, but I didn't really like the math on it, was to bet the Big Ten to win the whole thing. So you have your Notre Dame bet to win 10 units. You have 10 units to play with. Big Ten, so Ohio State and Penn State, minus 200. The only way you lose, of course, if Texas wins the next 2 games, which I don't think is going to happen. But then you're talking about risking 3 units to win 1.5 or 4 to win 2. And I don't really want to do that at this point in my life. So no hedge. As we pull up the board here, we've seen money on 2 things in the last hour: Penn State and on the over. And I saw my friend Ken Barkley, Lockie Lockerson. We are an hour from kickoff, and people are betting on James Franklin, which made me laugh. Look, Penn State has an NFL quarterback. That much to me is obvious. That's a big advantage when you get to a playoff game. There's not a lot of NFL quarterbacks. I don't think Will Howard is a perennial NFL starter. We'll see about Quinn Ewers. I doubt that as well. And Riley Leonard is probably a great college player that could catch on somewhere. But the highest upside of any quarterback in the Final Four that is starting, at least, I don't want to throw those Arch Manning people through, the wood chipper, but of the 4, of Riley Leonard, Drew Aller, Will Howard, and Quinn Ewers, Drew Aller is the biggest NFL prospect. 6'5", 240, big arm. Scouts love this kid. And Bruce Feldman the other day from Fox was talking about how if he dominates against Notre Dame and Ohio State, or Notre Dame and Texas, this is a kid that might decide, hey, I'm not going to come back to college. I'm going to go pro. So, yeah, the guy scares the shit out of me. He's a really good player. I also think there's a good chance Abdul Carter plays today. I'm being told that he's going to play. He's going to give it a go, and you love to see that. Penn State's defense is really good. I just think Notre Dame's is better. So here's the board, 283, 284. Remember, Notre Dame did get out to 2.5. I'm trying to remember the day. I can click the Superbook on the Odds Logic screen. There it is. On the 4th of January, they took a bet from a really respected player, a $30,000 bet, and moved the game to 2.5. Well, since that time, it's been one-way Penn State. Here we go. Right down the chute. Do I like Notre Dame at +1? Maybe. I think that this defense led by Al Golden is very, very good and will be able to take away a lot of what Penn State wants to do. Penn State's also not very strong at receiver. And while Aller has the upside, let's name a big game that Drew Aller has won at Penn State. I went back and looked at, the stat. We know that James Franklin only has one win against top 5 teams. Everybody knows that stat. You've heard it all fucking week. Everybody knows that. But do you remember what year that game came in? It was in 2016 when he had Trace McSorley at quarterback and a guy by the name of Saquon Barkley at running back. So that's what it takes to get James Franklin over the top. We shall see, though. Going to be a great game. And a lot of under talk today, but the market going up. How about a Pinnacle at 46? 411 has a 46. Bet Online, Dave Mason and company have a 46. This was 45 Tuesday, Wednesday. So day of the game, limits as big as possible. We're close. We're less than an hour away from kick. And the big money coming in on Penn State and on the over. We shall see. But these are the moments and these are the scenarios that Chicken Dinner started on. Having a nice bet, whether it be a playoff game or a future that's hanging in the balance, and we all either ride together or you fade the hell out of me. Whatever you want to do. These are the moments, though. And I am going to probably leave this show about 7:20 Eastern tonight and head to the bar and watch the game with 4 Jackals that also have Notre Dame to win the college football playoff. As for the other game, we have seen a pretty tight line since getting to 6. That's obviously Ohio State and Texas in the Cotton Bowl. This total has come down as well, open 54 and some 52.5s now at Superbook and at Buckeye, also at 411. These are 2 really good defenses, guys. Really, really good. And the way to beat these defenses is get speed on the outside. And while Ohio State certainly has the speed at receiver, Texas's strength is in the secondary and on the D-line. But there is this theory going around that Ryan Day and Chip Kelly decided we're going to save everything we do for the playoff because we know we're getting in the playoff. We know we're going to make it. So let's not show you all of our verticality until we have to. And I don't know that I completely buy that 100%. It's hard to buy anything these days from any coaches for that matter. But they look like a different team. And I think my big concern is somebody who did bet Texas about a week ago that this Ohio State team is just playing A football the rest of the way. A lot like that LSU team did in 2019. Not to say that Will Howard is Joe Burrow and that the Ohio State receivers are Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, but there's a similarity there in the fact that when they play at their A game, they're going to be very, very tough to beat. So this number, it got to 6. We know that some people thought it should be Texas -2, and then Ohio State opens 3.5, and then it gets to 4.5, and then touchdown, and now we're out to 6. You did see some buy at 6, but then it got shoved right back. So this is probably the way it's going to close. Ohio State -6. The bets that I made for this week, let me share this screen as well. So there's the Notre Dame that I added today for those of you that haven't been in on the future. I do like Notre Dame. Texas +6, and then I do like the Houston Texans. I was listening to my friends Andy Molitor and Drew Dinsick on the deep dive, which I highly recommend. They're with me on this one. And I know a lot of numbers people oftentimes overthink things in the playoffs. The numbers guys loved Baltimore last year against Kansas City, bet the 3, the 3.5, the 4, and then Mahomes and company took care of business. But the numbers, at least the power ratings, do not have this Chargers -3. They're really, really close to even, Texans and Chargers. And Herbert is awesome, but we know Herbert's been banged up, multiple injuries. He's been roughing it out. Harbaugh scares me. My big concern in this game is that the Texans go down 14-0, and you're like, oh, of course, I bet against Herbert and Harbaugh. But from the numbers, I had to play the Houston Texans. I think Stingley on defense takes away the best weapon on the Chargers offense, likely Lad McConkey. And that Houston defense, played a lot better down the stretch, started to get healthy. We'll see what CJ Stroud can do. And then Buffalo's the other game, Buffalo -8.5. So those are the plays I put out at Chicken X Dinner. We'll get to John Martin in about 5 minutes from now. I wanted to share some markets on leading rusher in wildcard weekend and why you must have multiple outs. So these started to pop most of the day yesterday. They started to come out, these markets, on weekend NFL leaders. And I was waiting for the rush market because, as we know, it's going to be running back, running back, running back, running back, running back, running back, running back at the top. So let me share this DraftKings page. Barkley, Henry, Williams, Irving, Jacobs, Mixon, Dobbins, Jones, Cook. And then there's Lamar Jackson at 35-1. Pretty decent number, right? Think again, because while DraftKings has 35-1, BetMGM has 40-1, as I share BetMGM now on YouTube and X. So 35-40, and FanDuel has a 47. Big difference, $12. $100 bet wins you $3,500 here and $4,700 there. Where are you going? Let's go back to the DraftKings page. Share Josh Allen's number, 65-1 at DraftKings. Okay, pretty good pop. How about BetMGM? Come down a little bit. That was 80 during our show today, 80-1, 66-1. So they're getting closer to everybody else. And then finally over at FanDuel, Josh Allen to lead the weekend in rushing, 75-1. So not a bigger gap than the Lamar gap from 35 to 47, but you're there. I mean, you have a range, 65 to 75. And I still all the time get messages from people saying, do you like this bet? And it's a bet like this in a market like this. And I will go to the prop shop and I will search for the player or search for the market. And you don't get the best price. And at that point, it's your fault. It's not the book's fault. It's your fault. And a lot of people don't want to have multiple books. Well, then you're going to short yourself on some of these markets. Let's take a guy like Jaden Daniels, sticking with the quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels at DraftKings is, 35-1. Jaden Daniels at BetMGM, 40-1. And then FanDuel has Jaden Daniels at 42-1. Every dollar counts in this racket. Every dollar counts. Are they going to be near the top of the rushing board? I hope. But I don't think 75-1 is right on Josh Allen. That number does not feel right. And these guys are also, if you think about the way that these guys are wired in a playoff game, you would think against teams that they should beat and beat handily, right? Baltimore's a 10-point favorite. Buffalo's a 9-point favorite. Teams get ahead, run the ball, feed the rock. What if Lamar fakes the handoff to Derrick Henry and just takes off for 60 yards? I think both of these guys are going to be very interesting in that market. So those are some looks that I thought about, and just some looks that you should always understand. You have to get the best price. You just have to. Got some comments here. All right. Patrick Everson, going to Tuscany Grill. No dog in tonight's fight. I'll root for your ND futures. Okay. Yeah, PK, I know Singley doesn't cover the slot, so it'll be Quentin Johnson, but they might put McConkey outside. I mean, McConkey goes all over the field. If it's one-on-one receiver on corner, yeah, it's going to be Quentin Johnston. But, they're going to move McConkey all over the field, a lot like they did at Georgia. Alex Smith, something for the chat. Arturi Lehkonen, first goal. Okay. Hockey bets, 13-1, 16-1. Michael Davis says, cheers. Kevin Hilmers, I'm letting my futures ride. Also adding, let's fucking go Irish, baby. Dan, let's go Irish. And Michael, good evening, Sammy. Good evening to John Martin, joining us now in the room from ESPN Radio in Memphis. 929, also Field of 68, also BetQL app, also Daily Memphian, also my new best friend. Did I miss anything? Uh-oh, you're muted, pal. Got to unmute yourself. Live radio, live television. There we go. What did I miss on your intro?
Nothing, man. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. What's up, man?
Well, Rutgers is fighting for us. We need him to claw back a little bit in this game, but 28-21. That number I was surprised to see that number go all the way out to 4 today.
Yeah, I will say, like, the one thing about college basketball that is so fascinating to me is that it's not uniform, but I would say it's mostly uniform. Once a number starts to get steamed, it's just like and it's like, where does it stop? Where does it stop? And I've kind of tried to capture, all right, here's where I think it stops, right? If I like a dog, for example, most of the time I get burned, but I'll keep trying.
It's been a wild season so far. If somebody were to ask you that hasn't watched a play of college basketball this year, how good the SEC is, how would you respond to that?
It's what the ACC used to be. That's what I would say. Like, remember how you turn on the ACC and it'd be like, even Wake Forest would have like NBA players and they would be like credible, and even Georgia Tech, right? That's the SEC. The ACC is basically, oh man, I feel like we got to have a moment of silence, like pour one out, get the Hennessy out and just pour it out for the Atlantic Coast Conference, because it ain't the same. I do have a suggestion. If they'd like to improve their basketball, they could add Memphis. I would say Memphis is right there for them to add and improve their basketball standing immediately. But man, the SEC is unbelievable. There's going to be a lot of really freaking good teams that lose on stupid Tuesday nights in that league, and we're not going to see it coming. And it's going to be okay, because then they'll win at home on Saturday against a top 10 team. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, the home court just so strong, not only in the SEC, but across the country. I've always thought that home court in college basketball was more important than it was in the NFL, the NBA. I can make a case for NHL, I guess, but, of all the sports, I think it matters the most. And you got so many good teams there. Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama sort of feels slept on right now, even though they were in that 12-1 range before the season. A&M's playing well. Mississippi State's playing well. I mean, I don't know how many tournament teams. I mean, they could get 7 or 8, I guess, but that league is loaded, man. And it's not just top heavy like some of these leagues in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty nuts that SEC basketball is going to, like, undeniably have a better year than football. Like, I don't know how that makes the conference offices feel. But there was a time, I remember not long ago, where, basically the commissioner had to intervene with basketball. Like, yo, you guys got to fix this. You guys got to figure this out amongst yourselves, because there was a time when it was really bad, right? Like, Kentucky was down, Tennessee was down. I mean, those times existed, but they've addressed it. And now the ACC is going to have those conversations. Like, I guess Clemson would be number 2 in the ACC, but not even ranked. They're outside the top 30. That's a rough look.
You and I were texting the other day. I was back home and we were going through some of these teams. I mean, the obvious answers when you ask people, who do you like to win it all? The obvious answers are Auburn and Houston and Duke, and Iowa State's getting more and more popular, and Tennessee and all that. But I still think there are some teams down the board that might be worth a poke at decent numbers. Arizona's a team that comes to mind for me. That I love Baylor, and Baylor is at the same time, Baylor's a young team and a new team, right? Because they've got all these stud freshmen, and then they brought the big from Miami over. So Scott's got time to kind of get that together. But of those teams that maybe aren't top 5 or top 10 teams in the rankings, which don't matter,
right?
Where do you want to start with teams that are maybe undervalued in the futures market, whether it be to win the whole thing or maybe make the Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, I think Baylor's a great start. And you saw VJ Edgecombe the other day go 50% from 3. I mean, he's 18 years old. He's a freshman. He will get better. He is an absolute dog. A lot of people don't realize this, or maybe they do. I don't know what people do and don't realize anymore. But he was the star of that Bahamas team in the Olympic qualifying tournament. I mean, that was a team that had DeAndre Ayton, that had, Eric Gordon, that had Buddy Hield. And he was the guy. 18 years old. He was the guy. So he's an absolute monster. And he's going to get better as the season goes along. I will say this. I know you qualified it as like in the top 10. I don't think they're priced in the top 10 future-wise currently. And I still think, even if you are buying at top price, I still think it's a good sweat. Florida. I mean, I really do believe that Florida has the ingredients to go on a Final Four type of run, because although they did not get the result at Kentucky on Saturday, I mean, they scored 100 points. And then you come back on Tuesday and you find a way to win, in a basic rock fight, 73-43. You hold the opposing team to 40 points, the number one team in the country, by the way. Yeah, I mean, you're getting 15-1, 16-1. I don't know what that 60-1 is. I mean, that's the API got a date.
The API, the API is definitely off, or somebody's asleep right now at Bet Rivers.
Man, if you didn't get down,
has been for 2 months. Hasn't been paying any attention.
Yeah, so I would say, and then we're gonna see an article, where Bet Rivers is like, well, our results were very customer friendly because somebody bet Florida 60-1 in January. But yeah, 14-1, 15-1, 16-1, that's all fair to me. They have guard play, they have big play. I think Golden's a really good coach, and they can, again, when you talk about going on those tournament runs, Sammy, it's about, hey, on Thursday, I might have to get out and run. On Saturday, I might have to play a limited lower possession game because that's the matchup. So I think Florida's demonstrated a pretty good ability to do that already.
I'm trying not to get too excited here. As an Illini diehard, I'm trying to stay composed. But I watched them last night. Yep. Granted, Penn State's not anything special. But to not have your top 10 lottery pick, Yakachonis, and the betting line goes from 9.5, 9, all the way down to 7, and people are grabbing every Penn State bet they possibly can, and Illinois still without Yakachonis wins by almost 40.
Yeah.
I don't want to have this conversation because I think they're too young to win the national title. Mm-hmm. Very, very young team. But if we go down on the prop shop, I want to have this conversation right here. To reach the Final Four, that FanDuel number was also at 6-1 this morning. So somebody took a bite out of that apple. Last year, they go to the Elite Eight after beating Iowa State in a really good game in Boston, ironically enough.
Yep.
And then they're kind of hanging with UConn, for 10 minutes. And then UConn goes on that 30-0 run. The rest is history. UConn goes back-to-back. That team is mostly gone from last year, so it's not like they can learn from that moment. But this team has so much more talent. They're younger, but they're more talented. And Brad's going, different rotations, different combinations. He's played a V-Stitch a lot less. He's played this transfer, Trey White from Louisville, a lot more. Boswell's in the mix. How good can this team be? Am I getting too ahead of myself when I even pull up Final Four on Illinois?
No, I played them last night. It got all the way down to 7.5. And, college basketball injuries are weird because, you would think like, oh, how do they replace 16 points a game? 5 minutes, especially when they expected them to play. But what they really showed you last night is they are capable without. They are as potent a team offensively as there is in college basketball. I love Kylan Boswell. I love his floor game. I think he's a winner. I truly believe that. I think he's back home. He looks comfortable, and you got to have good point guard play. You got to have elite point guard play to win at that level and at that time of the year, and I think they have it. Then you start talking about, you're bringing Gibbs Lawhorn off the bench. Trey White obviously moves the starting lineup and is balling out. They also have another guy who I think is like just his numbers aren't going to demonstrate this, but Jake Davis, champ.
That's a bearded guy with the man.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Came out of nowhere.
Bro, that guy plays basketball in blue jeans, okay? That is what he does. And he's willing to do things that others are not. And he'll play 8 minutes, 9 minutes, and he's going to put his fingerprints on the game. I love this Illinois team. I really do. I don't really know. I mean, I guess if you're going to nitpick a little bit, maybe be the interior, but when you have the ability that they have offensively around the perimeter, I'm less concerned. And I thought Morez Johnson last night was a game changer. I mean, he got the opportunity last night and he was killing it. So yeah, man. I mean, I know again we're reacting to recency here a little bit, like they just blew the doors off of probably a bad Penn State team, but again, they have the ability.
Well, I haven't done a show since before Christmas, and hopefully everybody had a good Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever, Happy New Year. I watched them after New Year's against Oregon and thought, holy shit.
No doubt.
And the crazy part about that game was they hadn't even scored in the first 3 or 4 minutes and still get to 100.
Yep.
So I'm thinking, geez, going to Oregon.
I really wouldn't I still would say like 30-1. My God. I mean, take a flyer. It's a lottery ticket in the windshield going down the interstate, but
yeah, River's still asleep here. So let's call it 35 at BetMGM. But the range here, 35 to 30. I mean, $5 is $5.
I mean, look, I think Auburn has probably separated itself, for the time being. But I think once you get past Auburn, and crazy shit happens in the tournament, somebody can knock off Auburn. You just never know. So I think I wouldn't stop at a Final Four if I'm going to go here. I would say they've got the dudes, they've got the dogs to, win 6 in April.
Anything else that you are betting tonight, or we'll maybe look to bet on? I know we don't have lines up for Saturday, but the matchups.
Yeah,
you can pull those up quickly. Is there anything that you're looking to poke either later tonight? I mean, these 7:00 games are about to tip. Last tip of the night is the Cal Poly and San Diego game, and then pretty good card on Saturday as well.
Yeah, I'm currently, I haven't even checked the score since we got on. It might be totally fucking dead.
I got you.
No,
what is it?
It's Oregon +4. I'm alive in the.
They're down 5 at half.
Yeah, that's doable. Totally doable there. Don't think Ohio State's good. I actually have can I give out an NBA play?
Of course, you can give out whatever you want.
That's what I have tonight. I have the Grizzlies. No, I did get them at -110 money line. They are not that anymore. But Ja Morant, I'm expecting to play. This Rockets team, this is awesome. I love your setup. Yeah, 2.5. I'm fine with 2.5. I think 2.5 is totally good here. Ja's going to play. The last time that the Grizzlies played the Rockets, they lost by 20. Jaren Jackson Jr. didn't play, and Taylor Jenkins said after the game that they got punked. So this is like one of those spots in the NBA. You know what I'm getting at here. This is just one of those home spots for the Ja's back for the first time in a few games. This should be peak energy for them.
8:10 tip, East Coast, Memphis. John saying you can still play it -2.5. I bet your guys not to play to the crowd here, but I did bet your guys the other day at 11-1 to win the West.
Yeah.
Now, I do think there's maybe not a 50-50, but a 40-60 yes chance that Jimmy Butler ends up there.
Oh, in Memphis?
Yeah.
No, he already said he doesn't want to come.
I don't believe a word out of his mouth. Like,
well, it's Chris Haynes' mouth, but yeah.
I don't believe a word. Like Jimmy is so like I covered Jimmy in Chicago, and when it was over in Chicago, it was over.
Right.
There was no mending. There was no therapy. He was done.
Yeah.
And I'm being told that it's nearing that point in Miami. So we'll see. I mean, like Phoenix wants to make it happen. So Phoenix can now put Kevin Durant with Jimmy Butler and Devin Booker and try and keep that thing together. Good luck. You're not buying Jimmy to Memphis?
No, I mean, I obviously the Grizzlies have some contracts that they have to consolidate and some picks. I mean, they have one of these moves that they can make, but you only get one. And I think like his contract situation is a little prohibitive in terms of, his age and the extension and his willingness. So, I mean, I think like that is what they need. Like they need a consistent wing scorer who can defend. They thought they were getting that in Marcus Smart. I mean, he hasn't. I don't even remember the last time he played, and I don't even remember the last time he played well. So that's still a need. But yeah, I just don't know if it's all going to align. I don't know if the stars are going to align for old Jimmy in Memphis. Be fun.
Even without Jimmy, though, they can get to the West Finals.
100%.
I stopped shy of title because then I got to win the West and
That's
knock
right.
off the
That's right.
Celtics or the Cavs, and that's a spot that I don't feel good about hedging out of. But let's say that Oklahoma City and Memphis meet in the WCF, and I'm holding 11. It just feels like a spot that I can do a lot with, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, the Grizzlies in Oklahoma City are really not that different. I mean, they go probably 9, 10 deep. They both have star guards. I mean, both improved. OKC improved their front court by going out and getting Hartenstein. Grizzlies obviously draft Zach Edey. Jaren Jackson's a probable all-star. Got Bane there on the perimeter as well. So yeah, man. I mean, I think OKC. I know it wouldn't be priced like a pick'em or anything like that. It would be OKC probably, I don't know, minus 150 just because of home court. But
really, I was thinking at least $2.
It might be. I mean, I haven't really got. That's not where my head's at.
It's not 3 or 4 though. It can't.
Yeah, no. And honestly, like I do think money would come in on the Grizzlies if it was anything beyond $2, right? Like if it was, if you could get the Grizzlies plus 165, plus 170 to win the series, I would bet that. Because what I would say is, they do have a little bit more postseason experience, right? They just do. They're a little older. They're a little further along in the trajectory. Not by a ton, but a little bit. And I'll take a flyer at that if I can get plus 160, plus 170.
Before we get to Corbie, you've been doing a lot of work with Psycho T.
Yeah.
How have you found that to be? And how is he this maniac on the basketball court and the calmest person ever on your show?
I don't know. It's like I expected. Maybe I don't know what I expected. I mean, he's kind of he has the eyes still, right? Like I'm a little like I don't know if I can how much I can fuck with him or but he's definitely far more placid than Psycho, I would say. Like he's just I don't know what he does all day. I haven't really asked him, but he seems like he's just kind of laying low and being low key and maybe it's one of those things where it's just you get inside the lines, man. I don't know, but he turns it off. He turns it off, thankfully.
I've seen a couple shows where you're running point, you're keeping everything in order. Henson's swirling the wine, having a great time, and Hansbro's just like staring at.
You got to get Henson on here. Henson's is a big gambler, big better.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, he loves betting.
Okay. Well,
then he lives down there in Tampa, so he bets on the old Hard Rock Monopoly down there.
Oh yeah, talk about shopping around. You can't do that in Florida. No. One of the first conversations you and I ever had was how I made the mistake of betting a Radford Chicago State under at 10:30 in the morning on Feast Week. It's Corbie Craig's fault. As Corbie joins us now, hit the unmute button. I love that we made that bet, but it also destroyed 3 accounts for me, Corbie. And I look back and wish I didn't do that Monday of Feast Week.
Yeah, you're not living then. Yeah, listen, that's the fun of it. You're gonna lose accounts, but you're gonna have a good time doing it. So, do I think it is a good move? No, I mean, but it's college basketball. What is a good move right now? As we're talking, there was just tip off to North Florida, Eastern Kentucky, and I bet it. So, at the end of the day, you got to enjoy what you got to enjoy. And what I enjoy is the worst, shittiest basketball you can possibly find.
I told Johnny, Johnny and I were chopping it up about teams to make the tournament, teams to make runs, teams to maybe buy. And you're in here talking North Florida within the first 60 seconds. Is this not the greatest group of friends or what, John?
It is. We gotta address the situation, man. Like, I feel like I'm stepping back in time a little bit. Like,
I already know what you're talking about, and I have a reason for it.
Okay. Are you moving, or what's the deal?
No. So I do a basketball show 3 days a week, and don't get to take it down until I have a winning week. So we were off the week of New Year's.
Oh.
First week was an even week, so hey, every person. And the worst part, honestly, the tree, that's kind of a thing. Like, it's not that. I mean, it's weird, but it's not that weird. The worst part is the stocking.
Right, it's all of it.
The stockings get it. Yeah, I agree, but no, have to do good or I don't get to cut it down. So hey, no winning weeks till March. We're gonna be stuck with a tree until November.
If that tree is still up in March, we got bigger problems than you realize.
Yeah, we got a lot of issues.
So for those not watching, Corbie has the Christmas tree up behind him and also the stockings on the wall. I poured myself. I need one of these because I get more nervous as we get closer to kickoff. And then once the game starts, I'm fine. But the nerves and the butterflies kick in, and I got guys texting me their bet slips and DMing me, no hedge. And there's like thousands of dollars hanging in the balance. And this is why we do this, I guess, guys. But I need to cheers to the both of you. I need to take one of these down.
Cheers. Yeah, 100%.
Ooh. Oh,
by the way, I mean, we got to get you some accounts, man. I mean, are you still out here with no accounts? That was like 2 months ago.
Well, then bowl season hit. So all my attention went to college football, and then NFL was winding down. I've got 3. It's 100, 100, 300. Not bad. Not great.
$100?
Joey Isaac sent me a text and said he would kill for $100 in college basketball. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't complain about 100, but yeah, 100, 100.
Isn't your information worth more than $100? Like the information that you're given to the sports book at that point, or the account, is worth more than $100.
Well, but see, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think if I was living in Nevada and I was able to bet into some of those casinos, they would let me bet more because they would respect the information. I can't, thanks to Bobby Kennedy, I can't bet in Nevada from Massachusetts. And out here, I signed up in a couple of these, but forget it. I mean, I tried to bet like $50 on a team to make the playoffs at 11-1, and you get the wheel, and then it's, hey, here's 6 cents. And you're like, all right, well, thanks for wasting my time. But the locals, like the paper heads, I don't know, Corbie, you could speak to this too. Like those guys, like, they don't care if your information is good or not. They just don't want to deal with guys that beat markets.
Yeah, I would say if you're getting closing line, they really don't care, which is obviously an issue if you're betting some good stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I think it depends what skin you are, how in tune your agent is. I'm on a few accounts right now that like I would be baffled to tell you how much I can get down. So really? I think it's hit or miss. I think I have 2,000 accounts on extras. So
extras?
It's hit or miss. I've been in the hundreds before. That's usually like your Buckeyes, your Metallics, like the end all be all. But
Jazz.
Jazz is pretty bad. But I mean, I've got a few that I can get a respectable amount done. Again, I've played the game. Y'all talked about Tampa Monopoly. I'm in Pensacola, so I had the Hard Rock for about 7 days. So I do feel you there. It was a fun 7 days, but I think they'll take $7 now college basketball an hour before tip. So that's always good.
Man, it's a tangled web we weave. Because
how many outs in Tennessee?
Well, there's a lot.
Legal.
You got Caesars, you got DraftKings, FanDuel, ESPN Bet, Hard Rock. There's a Tennessee only one that's called Zen Sports. There's I think that's mostly it. Oh, Betley's here again. Most of these are just not even worth anybody that's watching this show's time. Just because of what they will and won't take. But I have a PBH that I know the guy personally here, and I'm very careful because it's good and it's a lot. And, it's the old saying, what's the old saying? Shear versus skin. I fucked it up, but you know what I mean? You can shear a sheep, but you can only skin him once. There you go. So it's like, what are we doing? It's tough.
I know. The problem that I had, you talk about irony, October NFL, I just dumped. I mean, it was favorite for the whole month of October.
Yeah.
So then I get to November and I'm like, all right, well, at least basketball's here. And we started betting some of these games. And then Corbie started like 17-4 or something. So then I start hitting the guys that I dumped to in NFL. And then they're like, hey, we're going to cut you to 100. I'm like, 100? Whoa, where is this coming from? What about all the money I gave you in October?
Terrible.
Yeah. Hey, listen, imagine complaining about 17-4. It's the craziest life you live, huh? I was talking to somebody the other day. I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, he was like, would you recommend me like getting into origination and betting your own stuff? And I was like, honestly, like it's the biggest lose-lose you can play. Like either you're going to win and you get your accounts limited or you're going to lose and they will, hey, same. If you lost every single bet, I guarantee your limits would be more than 100. So it's a lose-lose. There's definitely easier routes, but I think if you find the right ecosystem of locals, you can get a little bit down. It's been a respectable year from a standpoint of getting money down.
You know what's crazy? I was just gonna say real quick, I was playing, our early week right angle college football into one of my outs 2 years ago, for 4-figure amounts, and didn't hear peep. College football, NFL, didn't hear peep. And then I started doing it day of for college basketball, and it was like the rapture. Like I was getting, closing line value the same way you would. Those numbers were steaming the same way they would, but it was like football. I was like, don't give a shit. Basketball, it was like, this is the end of the party. I mean, I kind of find that interesting.
I have an opinion on why that happens, because it obviously happens to anybody who likes college basketball. But like at the end of the day, like who's betting college basketball? Only people, especially like unless you're betting like Tennessee or Florida, Kentucky. Like if you bet Florida, Kentucky, guy probably doesn't care. But like most PPHs are taking they're not losing money out of their own pocket. They're taking Sammy's money, sending it to you, et cetera, et cetera. College football, that happens. College basketball, like it's a one-sided street. Like there's not the losers and the winners. It's usually just one side. So
the players, a lot of guys, they stop playing after football.
Yeah. So
and they don't.
So it's very easy to be like, this guy, we don't want him here anymore. So
like Tuesday in November, and it's like, there's a Wisconsin Green Bay total. He doesn't have enough liquidity to offset that, right? Like,
yeah, and you're just clicking the max too.
We had a guy, and we all know guys that take action and all that, and he sends me, these accounts and says, hey, look at this, and he sends me one of his skins. He's a big man sports guy. And he says, hey, I want you to look at this for me, because he knows I watch the screen and I can track the numbers and odds history and all that. And he goes, take a look at this account, because this guy has been bad, but now he's suddenly good. And I said, well, when did it start? And he said, college basketball. So I'm like, all right, let me log in, type in the username, type in the password. And I started tracking the bets on a Monday. And he bet from 9:30 in the morning Eastern all the way until 10 o'clock at night. And he beat the closing line in 12 of 13 games. And I said, okay, well, that's not like, clearly this is a professional or somebody who knows a professional.
That's
On Tuesday, he does it again. He's betting games at 9:30. He's beating line moves. It's obviously somebody who's making these plays is sitting at the screen, watching the board move and just scalping, just taking good numbers. And this day it was like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 11. So I told the agent, I said, look, like this guy's hitting 90% of his CLV, 90% plus. And he goes, all right, I'm going to kick him out. Like no questions asked. Like, just gone. Yeah. Just gone.
Yep. I mean, I can't say I would do it differently if I was in his shoes. I mean, I'm not going to try to get my head cracked. I mean, it's a tangled web we weave, like I said, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you have an agent that's a friend, but one thing that I've found, like at least in college basketball, is like I kind of trust my number enough to wait as long as I want, and you kind of talked about it. Day of doesn't really matter. Like no one gives a fuck. Like like there's not enough actions. No matter when you bet it. Like if it's 9 a.m. day of, they're still like you still bet this. I've had a lot of success, and this could just be tiny sample size. Again, as you can tell, I can't even grow facial hair. So what do I know? But I've started betting these basically 30 seconds into the game live. So like just don't post 8 a.m. Don't post 6 p.m. Right. Like 30 seconds in, because then on an agent screen, it's going to say, hey, this guy had no pregame anything, but this man live bets like motherfucker. And and you're basically getting the same. I mean, like what is a total move? I mean, obviously, like if somebody's hitting it, it'll move a lot. But like, I mean, North Florida today moved no points. It was the exact same thing from 8:30 when I hit it to tip, which it doesn't look good right now. But I think there's some merit behind it. Again, I think kind of bring up the point, like no agent wants to take this shit. No legal book wants to take this shit. I would argue that if you want to find, like, instead of tracking like CLV or whatever metric you want as a sports book, like just track, do they win at college basketball secondary markets? And if they do, it's probably not an account you want to have on your sport from a sportsbook operator standpoint. Like, I don't know anyone who is dumb and is betting college basketball extras. Like you have to know something to bet these.
Yeah. Johnny, I don't want to keep you much longer. You've been here 30 minutes already. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Any football bets you got over the weekend before we let you go?
Oh yeah, I don't know if it's available though. So it's like I'm pass posting already. I've already pass posted on the Grizzlies. I'm going to pass post again. I'm just going to give you all the numbers that are gone now. This is what they do in the industry, right? Give
Perfect. Perfect.
No, I bet Philly -4. I mean, I think it's still fine at 4.5.
Yep, you got 4.5 still.
Yeah, like obviously I do think this gets out to 5.5 this weekend. The closer we get, I just don't. I mean, I think Green Bay can kind of decide what they want to do defensively. You see it there, 5 at circa 5 at Westgate. Like they could decide to try to take Saquon out. I think Jalen Hurts is perfectly fine with that with his weaponry. They can decide to try to take Jalen out of the game and play with a couple of safeties. Saquon Barkley is going to go for $150. So I just don't think that the stops are going to come consistently enough for Green Bay. Plus Watson's out. Jordan Love can't feel his face when he's with you. So I don't think it sets up for a Green Bay win here.
All right. John Martin.
All right, boys. Enjoyed it. Corbie, nice to meet you, man.
Yeah,
Let me share before John takes off. This is how you follow our guy on X, John Martin 929 ESPN Radio in Memphis, Daily Memphian, Field of 68, and the BetQL app. And somebody that I text late in the night that often gets the question, "Who are you texting?" Oh, it's just John Martin. That's all. It's just John Martin.
I get the same question. I use the same answer even when it's not you. So I'm kidding.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, later.
There goes John Martin from ESPN in Memphis. How you been, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I mostly blame you, Sammy. It's been a month since we did this show, so it hasn't actually been a month, but feels like it.
It may have been a month because I haven't done it since before I left for Chicago. So that would have been December 18th.
And I missed the week before that. So it has been a month.
19th, I did college show, and then I was off for 26 and Jan 2. So college was hot early, and did they adjust to you, or what happened?
No, it was, I think it was just a bad run. Like at the end of the day, like I'm betting such a niche thing that college basketball it started great. I think I was like 17-2 at one point. So always fun. You're due for some variance. And the issue with like the human brain is if you start 17-2 and you regress to 56%, Sammy, like you still lost a lot of games in that in between. And so from the human standpoint, it's easy to go pretty crazy, pretty quick. You can be the biggest numbers nerd you want to be. But going from 17-2 to 17-14 might still be a profitable year, and you just drove yourself nuts. So it's looking fine now. The last probably week projections have done good. They've beat close 80% of the time. They've looked good again. I think they went 9-1 last night. So looking good. The caveat being like, I think in years past, I was betting pretty much the board. Like it was like, there was no real like, say consistent trend of like what I was getting on it. And right now I'm betting very consistently super high overs and super low unders. I bet an under 125 last night, which was just painful to the eyes, and an over 170 today in Eastern Kentucky. This isn't, I mean, we're 4 minutes into the game and this isn't going to win. Like score 170 points. I mean, you had to start scoring during warmups. It's just not going to happen. They have 7 points in the first 8 minutes. North Florida does it. I mean, 3 for 13. I just sent somebody a text, but the cool part about a 170 is like you don't really have to watch it too much because it's kind of either good or over pretty quick. I mean, a 3-minute scoring draw on a total 170 college basketball, unless you're Florida, Kentucky, is basically cooked.
Nadeau pops in. Christmas is over. Time to take down the tree. He obviously is joining us late. There's a reason for that, Jeff. Corbie's got a bit going on with his show.
He's on the show. He knows.
He knows. Oh, so he's just okay. Well, you guys you have so many different lineups of shows that you do. I always lose track of who's
too many.
He had a great.
Jeff's been on a heater. Lately. He looking good on the show. So shout out Jeff. Started slow. There's never really a question. I mean, you've had Jeff on here. He knows what he's talking about. So never really a question. He's doing good. Matt Cox, if you've talked to 3-Man Weave, Matt Cox is like, I mean, blowing the door off the water. And then there's me, lost 11 in a row, but still profitable. So Hey, however you got to get the job done.
It's all good. It's all good. Jeff had a very, very funny Spaces today too. So if you missed that,
I was in there.
go to
I was in there with you.
go to his page. Very funny. And of course, the person didn't show because, of course, why would that person show to debate anything?
There's
With
no
Lane?
debate to be had.
There's no debate. Anything that you're doing in either of these college football games? I know you do totals throughout the regular season, but I imagine these lines are pretty tight, and I don't expect you to love much in these semis.
No, not really. I have Texas futures, so I will say I'm obviously no spreads, but I do like I think that people are overreacting to this Ohio State like recent fascination. Texas has been good for an entire year, and I just don't see it. Like we look at the look ahead, Ohio State. I mean, Texas is a 3.5-point favorite to Penn State. I just don't see Ohio State being a juiced 5.5, 6. Like I think this number should have been closer to 2.5, 3. I'm on Texas. I don't know about you, Sam, but I'm a really big Quinn Ewers fan. I see people give him hate all the time. I see a guy who can read. Granted, he makes some bonehead decisions. He's a college quarterback who's going to make bonehead decisions, but he reads through progressions. He'll look off safeties. Like he does things that someone like a Jalen Milroe isn't doing, and he gets critiqued harder than anyone I've ever seen for it. I think it's because he has Arch behind him, and everybody loves Arch. But I think Quinn Ewers is a good quarterback, so we'll see. I mean, if you told me I could get Quinn Ewers 5.5-point dog versus Will Howard, I would say thanks. Give me that any day of the week.
I bet some 6 too. Before the tournament, I had them about equal. I had Ohio State -1 on a neutral. And after 2 games,
I was right there with you.
We're at 6. Now you obviously raise Ohio State, and you could either leave Texas the same or drop. I mean, you can't drop them a lot because they win by double digits against Clemson, and they're up 24-8 in the fourth quarter. You know, they didn't close the way you'd like them to, but you can't downgrade Texas 2 points.
Also, that's like a really big like if you simulated that doesn't happen. Like, I mean, Arizona State called a fake punt on their own 20 in the fourth quarter. Like let's say they don't get that. This game now is instead of 24-14, 24-12, whatever it was, it's Texas ball 24-6 on their own in their own red zone. Like then there's a lot of sims that would have that a completely different objective game. So I agree. Like you put talent versus talent, I think Ohio State's probably 1-point favorite. I have Texas hook 'em horns for the weekend, hoping to make it home. Sam, I think I've told you about it, but I have this future hook 'em. I agree, Coleman.
Chisholm, baby, long time. Hook 'em.
I have a future that is every champion for the last year. I had the Celtics to win. They did. The Dodgers to win. They did. Now I have Texas, which obviously is looking down in the dumps currently, but it looked good at some point. I have the Baltimore Ravens, which I could not tell you. I think they're good, but I couldn't tell you. And then the Alabama Crimson Tide. So $100 to win $1 million. So we're hook 'em fans, we're Ravens fans, and then we'll probably hedge out of the Tide.
Hell yeah. Hopefully Alabama basketball, not any other sport. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah, sometimes you never know. You know, that's actually football, not basketball.
Yeah, this would be unfortunate because if I had Texas football and Alabama football, I am almost certain to lose. That would just not be a fun parlay.
But they would probably take the bet.
I would agree that they would.
They would take the bet. Anything else that you like tonight? If no big deal. No pressure.
Of course, I come here with one. Of course, I come here with one, and of course, I don't have a rotation number for you.
I got the number. What is it?
Let's go to the worst game on the board I could possibly find for you because that's what I wanted to do. Idaho, Sacramento State.
Oh Jesus Christ! 835, 836.
And it's a main market, Sam. See, look, I'm out here giving you good stuff. That's not even an extra board. Give me the under Idaho, Sac State. That's not too crazy of a number. What, you can get a 135?
I'm looking at 135, 135 and a half.
Let's call it 35.
Okay.
Listen, that's a respectable number. I'm not giving you in the 20s. Last night we had the Drake game in the 25. That's rough. But I watched this Idaho team, like, just no impressions at all that they've been good. Like we saw them score 62 on 63 possessions versus Oregon State. And I think honestly, that's probably like one of their better looks. 61 against San Diego. San Diego is just a miserable defense. The main thing is Sac State has two bigs, and they understand what they need to do to win. They need to play slow as hell, give it to the 6'10" guy, Jacob Holt, slow down possessions. Portland State to 60 possessions last game. Last game, Sac State played, Sammy. They won 56-53. Talk about just an absolute snoozer. This isn't one I'd watch, but I do think Sac State can kind of gerrymander and force their own here. I don't think this is an Idaho game of tempo. And because of that, I kind of lean towards the team, which I think would create the tempo, which would be Sac State here as a dog. But I took the under 135 and a half.
There's our guy at Corbie BO.
Like that
from a nice
like that,
Christmas break. And what is that avatar there? What is that?
It's me as a little pixelized guy. I like it. You know, I do enough of this,
like a Pokemon or something.
That was kind of the goal. Look at that. Look at you. See, I do enough of face to face. I was like, you know what? I don't want my face to be the avatar. I'm gonna make it something fun. So, pixelize the entire team. So anybody that's on the team helping us build stuff better odds, they have a pixelized Pokemon character. I think it's pretty funny.
I would love a pixelized character, but it's going to be hard to pixelate the glasses. So maybe
this is true.
Maybe we'll figure do a couple runs and see.
We'll figure something out. Get you a beer and a chicken beside you.
No, this is good enough. For one more for Notre Dame. Ooh. Good luck to anybody who tail with the futures. Good luck. No hedge. 10-1. Nervous, but
you should be. Book it. Trent's on it with you, so it's going to be a long night. You're going to need a couple more.
Oh, is he really?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Hey, gotta love him. One of the best content. Listen, people can say what they want about whoever they want. The Nadu stream was hilarious. Those type of people deserve it. Look at Trent knows what he is, and he is certified hilarious. I don't care what anybody says. I don't like sports content like in that fashion. I think he's awesome, and he knows he's not sharp. He knows it's awful, and he does not care. So he's on Notre Dame. That should be fun, and I'm gonna enjoy watching it.
All right, buddy. Well, good luck tonight. Good luck with that nasty total. And we will talk to you next time.
Sure. Appreciate it.
There goes Corbie Craig at Corbie BO. Our bread is buttered with Notre Dame. Kickoff 3 minutes from now. No hedge, no mercy. Cash some tickets, make some money. We'll talk to you next time right here on Chicken Dinner.